When you think of luxury, you probably think of things like designer clothes, expensive bags, and extravagant vacations. But a luxurious life isn't built from huge and expensive experiences, and I don't think it's reserved just for people who make a lot of money. True luxury comes from the things that you do to enjoy life every single day. It's the small rituals and the tiny ways that you treat yourself every day to make life just feel more elevated. And the best part is that they don't need to cost a lot of money at all. So let me show you 30 little luxuries that I think are totally worth spending money on. And some of these may surprise you. So let's start with the first one and one of my favorites, and that is having a sit-down coffee at a cafe in a ceramic mug. And this is specifically a ceramic cup, not a paper or plastic takeaway cup of coffee. To me, this is a tiny thing that you can do for yourself maybe once a week or a couple of times a month, where you take yourself out to a cafe deliberately to slow down and enjoy your cup of coffee. And I think it has to be in a ceramic mug or like some sort of appropriate coffee cup and not in a takeout one, because first of all, the coffee just tastes better, but two, I think it overall adds to a really elevated, slow, and luxurious experience. I actually found since COVID, a lot of the coffee shops that we like to go to stopped serving coffee in any form of glass or ceramic whatsoever, and they've just started serving everything in a takeout cup. So even if you're sitting down in the cafe, you're still drinking it out of a paper cup, and I just find it so kind of like, it defeats the purpose to me. So if you can take some time in your week or month to have a really nice, slow, sit-down cup of coffee, I think that is pure luxury. Next is having some kind of morning ritual. For me, it's simply getting up around 5 or 10 minutes earlier so that I can make myself a cup of coffee at home in the Chemex. But for you, it could be making yourself a matcha at home, making yourself a homemade latte, or making yourself a really nice cup of tea. But the luxury here, again, I think is all about slowing down and having something to look forward to in your morning. I love the slow sort of pour over method of the way we make our coffee in the Chemex, and we make sure to buy the good beans from our favorite coffee shop so that when we're not going to have that sit down cup of coffee in the ceramic mug in the cafe, we can have a really similar experience at home. But I think getting up and having a little ritual that you can look forward to and romanticize every single morning is just so lovely, so luxurious. It's one of my favorite things to do every day. This next one I think is so perfect, especially with summer coming around, and it's just having a fresh lemon, fresh mint, or fresh cucumber in your daily water. I feel like this is something I've only ever experienced at like a spa if I was going to get a massage or a facial, but it is so simple and affordable to make it at home. I think any citrus and green in anything always just feels so much more luxurious and fresh. And keeping in with the kind of kitchen and morning ritual theme, I think it is so luxurious to have a really nice kettle. I had to go get mine. This one is a really pretty one that we've had for many years. It's from Fellow, and it's specifically meant for making pour over coffee. So it has a really thin gooseneck spout. It comes in a bunch of different colors. This matte black I think looks really great on the counter. And to me, it just makes not only the whole daily ritual of making coffee feel that much more elevated, but it's just nice to look at. I think it is a nice piece of decor to have on your countertop. And this one is a bit more expensive up front, but we've had this for almost 10 years now, and it's still going strong. Next, let's move into another daily ritual that I think most people overlook, and I think it's going to make specifically the act of getting dressed that much easier, and that is simply having matching hangers in your closet. I am all about making the experience of getting dressed and choosing what to wear for the day as boutique-y and kind of elevated as possible. And one of the best ways you can do this is just simply by having matching hangers. Because I find when you have like a mix of plastic and dry cleaner hangers and then like wooden and the velvet ones all at once, it makes the wardrobe feel a lot more cluttered than it probably actually is. The other thing too is I find is if you especially are short on space, if you have all of the same hanger, it's just going to make everything look and feel that much more uniform and organized every time you open up your closet. Some of my favorites, because I have a bit more clothes in my closet, are these velvet hangers because they are very, very thin And the nice thing about these is that the clothes also don't slip off. So if you have a lot of tank tops or silk items, very soft items, they're gonna stay in place. And a box of velvet hangers you can get from Target, Walmart, Amazon for around $20 or $30, depending on how many you need. And it makes such a huge difference in your wardrobe. These ones are my favorite, but if you want something a bit more organic, you can also go for the wooden hangers, and it also looks really, really chic. I think it is one of the simplest and most affordable swaps you can make in your wardrobe to make it just feel like you're shopping from your favorite store. And to me, that's what shopping your own closet and getting dressed every day should feel like. This one is a nice to have, and it definitely doesn't have to be expensive, but it is having a nice wallet. I treated myself to this wallet about 5 or 6 years ago for my birthday, and it has held up ever since. It's just like a really nice leather wallet that I got from Saint Laurent. It was a birthday gift to myself. I only own one wallet, so I wanted it to look chic and feel chic every time I pulled it out of my bag to use it. This wallet was definitely a splurge. You do not have to go designer whatsoever, believe me, but I think the whole key here is just having something that feels really nice every time you go to open it up and pay for things. The old wallet I used to have was huge, it was oversized, and so it became this kind of catch-all that just held everything and was just as much of a clutter catcher as anything else. So every time I pulled it out, it just didn't feel elevated at all. I actually kind of felt embarrassed by it. So I just wanted something that felt really good every time I pulled it out. I wanted something that was compact, that didn't hold too much clutter, so I could keep it really nice and streamlined. And you can find beautiful wallets on places like Etsy from real leather artisans for a fraction of the price. And you know what? Looking back, I kind of wish I did that. Designer definitely isn't going to make or break that luxurious feeling. That's just what I happen to own, and I'd prefer it this way than with the logo anyway. This is a luxury that I took for granted for so long because in the old place I used to live in, it was like a dark cave, and that meant that a lot of my plants really struggled to survive. So I find having your home decorated with real live plants to be so luxurious. Not only are many of them very affordable, you can also propagate them for free, and I will always opt to decorate my home with plants over almost anything else. They add warmth to a space, they add life to a space, a lot of them purify the air, and this guy I got for free. It was a propagation off of another spider plant, and look at it. Gorge. I love it. And it just feels vibrant and luxurious, and I'm obsessed. And speaking of having the feeling of nature indoors, I think it is just as luxurious to just take the time to go for a walk in nature. Whether it be in a park close to your home, if you have some walking trails, or even if you live close to the water and can walk down by the beach, any of those experiences to me always just feel so calming and peaceful, and I never regret it after it's done. In fact, the actual act of forest bathing or being out in nature is recommended by some physicians in Japan because of all the health and mental health benefits of being out in nature. It does things like lower your blood pressure, it can help calm down stress, it can elevate your mood. So if you can take a few minutes during your week or even once a day just to go outside and spend some time in the fresh air, that actually is pure luxury, and it is free. Physical books and journals. Coming from someone who loves to use their iPad and pretty much uses a digital version of everything, I've recently made more of an effort to read more physical books and to physically write things down on paper. As much as I love things like audiobooks and using my laptop and iPad and phone for everything, I actually find that digital experience and auditory experience of doing things like listening to podcasts and audiobooks, I actually feel like it's a bit more passive, and I'm not slowing down to take the time to absorb what it is I'm listening to or to commit what I'm writing down to memory. I feel like if you read from a physical book or write down something in a physical journal, I think it slows you down enough to truly absorb that information, be present in the moment, and I don't know. I feel like we're all just sort of craving physical things, physical touch. And you know, books can be cute and aesthetic, and so can journals. So I'm down for a little bit of something pretty in life too that way. One of the rituals I look forward to every single week is getting up early on a weekend and going to work out. And this can be going to the gym to do a solo workout or going to one of your favorite workout classes, whether it be yoga, Pilates, a high rocks class, whatever it is that floats your boat. But I, in particular, just love the feeling of getting up early on a Saturday or Sunday morning, doing my workout class, and then going to have like a silly little treat and coffee after. That weekend morning ritual, specifically with a little bit of movement and exercise in it, is just, oh my gosh, chef's kiss. I absolutely love it. It's a little bit challenging because you kind of want to sleep in, but it feels freeing, it feels motivating, and I just love the post-workout coffee and socializing that comes later. It just, to me, that is the absolute definition of luxury. Farmers markets. Now that we're getting into summer, if you live in a place that offers a farmers market all year round, I am so jealous of you, but this is something that I love in particular in the spring and summer. I love walking around a farmers market on a weekend. I love bringing like a little tote bag with me and just kind of looking at all of the fresh vegetables and seeing all the vendors. There's a really great sense of community and supporting local within a local farmers market, and I just absolutely love it. And to me, it feels so much more special than your typical run to the grocery store. Which brings me into a little thing that you can get at the farmers market that makes such a huge difference, and that is just good olive oil. I don't know what it is, but there are definitely differences between like a cheap run-of-the-mill olive oil versus the good stuff. I'm a huge fan of getting a fresh loaf of bread and just dipping it into a really tasty, flavorful, robust olive oil with some salt, and it is just, so good, so beautiful. And speaking of the good stuff, I think one of the most luxurious parts of my week is going to a local bakery to get a fresh loaf of sourdough bread. We don't actually eat out a lot as a household, so one of my favorite places to direct that money instead that we would otherwise spend on takeout is on really good groceries. And I've been just trying to make a bit more of an effort to go to the local bakeries in my neighborhood and just pick up some fresh bread. And you know, sourdough bread from the bakery can be a bit more on the expensive side, but I am willing to pay for that because it takes forever to make. I tried making my own sourdough bread back in COVID, and it takes like 2 or 3 days to do it, not to mention having to feed your little yeast starter guy for a week or two beforehand. So I can appreciate the effort that goes into making a really good loaf of sourdough bread, and if you can do it at home for less, I think all the power to you, and I think that's actually the ultimate luxury because there's nothing better than homemade, but I haven't quite taken the leap there. So for me, fresh bread from the bakery just feels like absolute luxury. Next is a little luxury that can be a bit more on the expensive side, but always feels so good when you do it, and that is getting meat from the local butcher shop. As a household who values spending money on groceries, and we do eat meat, we are trying to shift some of that money and some of that spending toward higher quality, more locally sourced meats. And I think one of the best places you can do that is at a local butcher shop. I'm not saying the meat at Costco isn't high quality, because I do think it is, but to me, there's something about supporting a small and local business and, you know, walking to your local butcher shop that I think probably puts a lot more care and effort and thought into the meats that they are supplying. This next one is a splurge that might feel a bit expensive up front, but I think if you find one good one that you love, then it's going to feel like a luxury every single time you use it, and it's only going to get better over time. And that is having a really good leather bag. I think some of the nice things about having leather and natural fibers is that it really only does get better over time. It gets softer, it patinas well, and if it's something that is functional that you can use all the time, that also mixes and matches with your wardrobe and whatever occasion that you need to be carrying a bag for, or at least for most occasions, to me, I just think it's really chic. It can be a clutch, a shoulder bag, a messenger bag, something really versatile, and I think this goes for the guys and the gals who watch this channel. A good bag that you love, and more importantly, that you use, that is well made, it just feels good. And some of the nicest leather bags in my collection are actually secondhand that I got at a really great price. So these definitely don't need to be expensive. And sticking with wardrobe, this next thing I think is something that a lot of people overlook, especially when they're trying to build a wardrobe that they feel good in every single day, that doesn't necessarily need to cost a lot. And that is having one really good pair of sunglasses. Now, you can definitely splurge and go a bit more on the expensive side, but I think the key here is that if you have at least one pair of sunglasses that you love, that you can just throw on with even the most basic of outfits, you are immediately going to feel chic and cool. I think when it comes to things like wardrobe and feeling really stylish and good in what you're wearing, there tends to be an overemphasis on the clothing itself and an underemphasis on accessories. Getting at least one pair that, one, not only feels really high quality and well made, but two, also feels cohesive with a lot of your wardrobe, it just feels good. It feels chic, it feels cool, and I feel like you only need a few pairs and you're done. This next one definitely does feel like a luxury, especially in this economy, and that is having a manual manicure or a pedicure. Now, don't get me wrong, these services are definitely getting more expensive as the years go by. There is no doubt about that, but I also think that there is something that feels quite luxurious about treating yourself to go get your nails done. If my nails look nice, I just feel a lot more confident, I feel more polished, and at least for me, paying that little bit of extra to get a professional to do it, I think is very well worth it. If you have the time, the skill, and the money to do it at home, I think this is something that you can definitely cut from your budget and do at home. But for me, I just find taking that hour and a half once a month to go treat myself to a manicure, it definitely feels luxurious. It is luxurious, is a little treat that I can give myself to feel good about myself for the rest of the month until my next appointment. This next one is an underrated luxury, and it is something that I am so excited to do this summer in particular, and that is growing some fresh herbs. Fresh parsley, fresh basil, fresh mint, fresh oregano, fresh chives, fresh dill. I am all about the fresh herbs. And this is something that I actually don't buy as often in my grocery shopping as I would like to, because a fresh herb when you're trying to flavor, whether it be like a salad, a bean salad, or whatever it is you're cooking, I don't know, it is unmatched. It will never beat a dehydrated herb, in my opinion, for most things. And if you can grow them at home, kind of in keeping with the little luxury of having plants and live things in your home, I think it also just adds to that mood. It adds to that freshness, and I think it just feels good. I love it. This next one is one of the cheapest little luxuries that I think makes such a huge difference, but that is having a favorite pen. And this doesn't have to be some of those expensive collectible fountain pens. That is definitely a niche that I can appreciate. Those things are beautiful, but I'm just down with a pen that's smooth, that writes well, and my favorite for the longest time has been this pen from Muji. I don't know, it's kind of like having a favorite fork or a favorite spoon. I'm very particular about a pen, and the Muji ones have been my favorite. And I think these are like, they're cents on the dollar. They are so cheap, but I love it. I don't know. I'm very picky about my pens. Anybody else? Let me know in the comments.
My favorite pen just ran out.
A really good white t-shirt. A really good white tee that you love, that feels crisp and polished and actually lasts, does absolutely feel luxurious. It's one of the most simple basics that I think everyone needs in their wardrobe, but all white t-shirts are not created equally. And believe me, I have spent a lot of money to try to find the perfect t-shirt. I've tried $5 t-shirts all the way to a $500 t-shirt. And let me tell you that the best one and the most luxurious one lands somewhere in the middle. But some of the things that I think make for a good and luxurious t-shirt is that it's made of 100% cotton, so natural fibers. It's going to be breathable. It's going to feel good on your skin. Number two is that it has a structured or reinforced collar, so when you wear it and when you wash it, it's not going to warp and turn to bacon. There is nothing that feels worse to me than a flimsy t-shirt that does not hold its shape or structure. It feels sloppy. It doesn't feel good. To me, that's when it kind of turns into a beater t-shirt or like even a hair towel for me. And the other thing that I look for is that it is not see-through. So a t-shirt that has a bit of structure to it and that is slightly heavyweight, I think always feels so much more polished and put together than kind of a loosey-goosey, flimsier t-shirt. And if you want to know some of my favorites that I've tested out personally, I'll leave a few of my favorites linked in the description. And speaking of a really good basic, I think the next thing that always feels like luxury is having a really good coat or blazer. Now for me, I am a blazer girl, in case you couldn't tell. So a really good high quality blazer that is made of majority wool, that has some structure to it, that just feels timeless and classic, that I can reach for over and over again when I don't know what to wear. That always feels like luxury. Compared to a blazer that doesn't have a lot of shape or structure to it, that is made of polyester, that doesn't feel good on the skin, to me it's never going to feel as good as a perfectly tailored good wool blazer that you can wear time and again. And if you're not a blazer person, I think you can feel just as luxurious in something like a cardigan or even a good piece of knitwear that's made of 100% wool or 100% cashmere. These fabrics feel good on the skin, they feel rich, they feel luxe, and the nice thing about it too is that it's not necessarily that expensive. A lot of these materials you can find on the secondhand market, and if you can get something vintage from the 80s or 90s, then it's probably going to be an even more high quality cashmere or wool for less money than you could even buy today. But I think investing in the wardrobe pieces that you know you love, that you're going to wear a lot, will always always feel luxurious every single time you get dressed. Quality over quantity definitely matters, and I think it's important that you feel good in what you're wearing every day. That's a little luxury. Eucalyptus in the shower. I've only actually tried this once, but that couple of weeks that we had the dehydrated eucalyptus hanging in our shower was some of the nicest showers I have ever taken in my life. If you want your shower routine to feel like a spa, to feel like aromatherapy, just grab some eucalyptus, throw it in the shower, and it is just gorgeous. In my experience, it lasts about a week to 10 days before you have to start replacing it, but well worth it. And I think it actually looks really nice. It's kind of like decor at the same time. And speaking of aromatherapy and a spa experience, I think another beautiful luxury to have every single day is just to have a nice smelling home. Now, you can do this through your cleaning routine, through scented candles, through essential oils, and a diffuser. But one of my favorite things to do when I want my home to smell a bit more fresh and cozy is just to take a pot of boiling water on the stove and add 1 lemon, a bit of vanilla extract, and some cinnamon to it. You just kind of let it boil and it just makes the home smell absolutely divine. I love it. And if you're not into that DIY method, then you can definitely lean into the next little luxury, which is going the scented candle or diffuser route. But I think coming into a home that smells really good feels amazing. And speaking of smelling good, if you do like perfume and fragrance, I think the most luxurious thing is to not have a huge collection of that, but rather having one signature go-to fragrance that you wear all the time. To me, it's kind of the whole idea of like, your grandmother had a favorite perfume, or the idea of fragrance being connected to memory. I think having a signature scent is just so lovely and a lot more affordable because perfume is expensive. Which takes me to number 25, and that is having a really nice book that you can flip through for inspiration. I'm talking something like a photography book or a coffee table book or a magazine that you can just have as part of your home decor. Every time you flip through it, it feels inspiring, it feels beautiful, it feels creative. It could be a book of architecture, or maybe it's a cookbook that inspires you to try a new recipe. This is my version of that. This is The Creative Pragmatist, written by the founder of one of my favorite fashion brands, Tibi. It's written by Amy Smilovic, but it comes in this beautiful heavy-duty box, and then the book itself is gorgeous. It's just full of custom drawings. This book in particular is on personal style and kind of the principles of getting dressed and finding yourself in your own style. And we keep this book on display, but every once in a while I'll take it out of the box and just give it a little flip through, and I'm always inspired after I do that. This next one is one of my favorites, and it is simply having a skincare routine. And this definitely doesn't mean that you need to buy a bunch of expensive products or have like a 10-20 step skincare routine. If you like that and you romanticize the ritual and it doesn't irritate your skin, then please have at it. I love that for you. But I think you can have just as nice of a skincare routine from drugstore products. My skincare routine consists of 4 products, and they are all either from the drugstore or by prescription. But the thing I actually really enjoy about that skincare routine is that not only is it doing the things I want to do for my skin, it's keeping my skin smooth and hydrated and clear, but it's actually the routine itself that I look forward to. It's something that you can do to slow down, to take the time to take off your makeup, to wash your face, to let the serums and the moisturizers absorb. I think that is the true luxury feeling, and not necessarily always the products themselves. So no, your skincare routine doesn't always need to be expensive. Sometimes it is fun to splurge on the more expensive things, and one of the only expensive things that I think is actually worth the splurge, because I have tried the dupes, and that is having a very fancy hand soap, specifically the Aesop hand soap. I'm so sorry. Yeah, this is the Aesop Reverence Aromatique hand wash. It's got like the little exfoliating beads in it. Jeff calls it the sparkle soap, and we have tried refilling the bottles so that they still look nice and fancy with other kinds of soap, but there's something about the texture of this, the scent of it. When you wash your hands, it feels like aromatherapy, so this is fancy. Yes, that is a little bit pricey, but cost per use, you make it last. Let me know down in the comments below if you have found an alternative that you like better, that is more affordable. I am more than willing to try that. But I think the whole idea of having just kind of like a nice aromatherapy experience when you're doing something as simple as washing your hands, and that's what it's really all about. It's about elevating those little moments in everyday life where you can and where you want to, where you actually value it. And speaking of those elevated everyday experiences, one of the most important places that you want to make sure is always a really good and comfortable experience is when you're sleeping. So having some really nice bedding that you love, that looks good, and more importantly, that feels good to sleep in and sleep on is so important. This goes all the way down to your mattress, but I think that is something that is a little more expensive. But a place where you can save money but still feel elevated is just to buy some really nice bedding. My favorite bedding has always been things like 100% cotton, and I've also really liked muslin, linen, and in the summertime I actually really like bamboo bed sheets because they have a bit more of a cooling effect. We spend half of our lives sleeping. Sleeping is when you recover, it is when you recharge and rejuvenate, so you want that experience to be a good one. And speaking of upgrades to your sleep situation, silk pillowcases. This is something that I have been meaning to upgrade in my own bedding situation because there truly is nothing more luxurious than sleeping on a silk pillowcase. Not only does it feel beautifully soft, but it's actually really good for your skin and for your hair because it's just less abrasive. I used to sleep on a silk pillowcase and I think it got stained, or I don't quite remember what happened to it, and I never got around to upgrading it, and I kind of regret it because since then I do notice a bit more hair fallout on my pillow every day, and you know, it just doesn't feel as nice. Now, these are some of the things that I think are actually worth the money, but if you want to know some expensive things that I think you should actually avoid spending money on, then watch this video next. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you next week. Bye.